Welcome to Charter Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerantz, and we are in Irvine, California at the National Faith Leaders Conference at Christ Our Redeemer AME Church. And we are joined today by Betty Yee. She is the Controller of the State of California, and it's always good to see you.
Great to see
Madam
you,
Controller.
Brad. Yes.
I want to get a sense from you why it was important for you to attend this conference.
Yeah, this was really a tremendous opportunity to be in the convening of some tremendous faith leaders who are all very committed about how to elevate communities. And when I think about my role as controller, and actually my role just even as a public official, and being the chief financial officer of the state and the 8th largest economy in the world,
yes.
right? We want to be sure that all communities are elevated. And so this is about I consider faith leaders being in the what I call the profession of hope.
Right.
And I'm in the
Well
profession
stated.
of accountability. And when those two intersect, great things can happen. So.
And it's interesting, obviously, you're onto something because none other than the chair of the SEC
Yes.
was here as well,
Yes.
Mary Jo White.
Yes.
So there is something about the faith leadership and the work that they're doing that is attracting state and national leaders. We know that this particular church where we are today, Christ Our Redeemer AME, has its own community development corporation.
Yes.
Explain why that, in your mind, is a great intersection of hope and accountability.
Well, you know, I think about my own background, and so
Right.
much of it came out today just working with these faith leaders, and that is, you know, my family, when my parents came to the United States, their way of building a better life for their family was to begin their own business.
Right.
And this is so much a part of how we get communities to begin to think about building assets and really building wealth and creating opportunities economically within their own communities. And this is really why I think this development corporation is doing great work, incorporating young people into the whole realm of financial education, business education. So I just have tremendous hope about what's going to come out of here.
You mentioned your family, and I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the relevance of this year, 2015. In October of 1965, many things happened, including my birth, but that's another conversation.
Yes.
That is when the National Immigration Act was signed.
Yeah.
And that changed the way that we looked at immigrants, specifically Asian American immigrants, your family. And so how does that play into where we are today?
Well, you know, we are in the next chapter of immigration here in the United States. And I'd like to think that the experiences of what happened after 1965 are going to inform what we do in terms of policies for integrating our new immigrants into this country. I think here in California we are especially fortunate because we do have such a diverse array of immigrants from different countries around the world that I think we're going to continue to be a model about how we embrace, how we integrate, how we include, and how we involve our diverse communities to work together.
And yet the intersection between immigration and growth, financial growth, still is a bit tenuous. You know, we think about the last 50 years, there were still deeds which said you cannot sell to Asians and Hebrews and Africans.
Right,
and,
exactly. Couldn't own land, couldn't own property.
Right. Those days are behind us.
Yes.
But we still have, well, I don't think we technically have redlining, but we have predatory lending
Yes.
that targets communities of color.
That's right. And that's, you know, and Chairwoman White from the SEC, exactly why she's here. She's here to be sure there's a level playing field. I'm here because I want to be sure that the services that we can really provide to our newer communities, emerging communities, are available for them. And I think that's where we really can see some hope, is that if they can access all the tools that are there for them, and they aren't subject to abusive behavior, predatory behavior, they've got a shot.
I want to ask you about that access. I spoke earlier with Faith Bautista, who's with the National Asian American Coalition, and we were talking about access and her view, and I think it's fair that access is key and that one can access in 2015. But I pushed her a bit and I said, you know, I think part of the challenge with many immigrant communities is that they don't want to get involved with government at all.
Right.
You know, especially let's think about some communities of Asian American descent. They came from Cambodia, from Vietnam. Stay away from the government.
Right, exactly.
And so even China, I mean, from where your parents descended, mainland China.
Yes.
And so how do you work as a government official with communities of color, which is a lot of the folks here today, to let them know that the government it's okay.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
we're really trying to serve you. I mean, yeah, we make mistakes, but
no, I think the most fundamental of levels, what is a common value across all these communities, is education, educational opportunities for their children, and certainly public education. When we look at a fundamental role of government, it's the provision of free public education, and that's a great way to really begin to have the conversation with these communities, to establish that trust, to be sure that we have elected officials that look like them, you know, in leadership positions where they feel that there's a trusted source to go to.
And tell me about that.
Yeah.
How important is it in your mind that in California, let me get this right, so we have you and the treasurer are of Asian American descent.
Yes.
The Secretary of State is of Latin American
Yes.
descent. The Attorney General is of African American and Indian American descent.
Yes.
Any more? A lot of Europeans there, but I think I did well.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
know.
That's
And
exactly
so
right.
how important is it that we see that rainbow?
I think it's very important. I mean, we are, diversity is our greatest strength. And for any new community to feel that they have an opportunity and for them to be able to see, you know, I'll just take my own example, that within a generation of being the second oldest daughter of immigrants, that I could become the chief financial officer of the 8th largest economy.
It is stunning.
I mean, it's stunning, right?
It is stunning.
And it's,
did you speak English when you went to kindergarten?
I did not. I did
Right.
not.
Were you born here? I can't remember.
Yes,
You
first
were born
generation
here.
Californian,
Right.
absolutely.
And you spoke no English when you went to
No.
Brilliant.
But this is the hope, right? And so I think it's very important, and not only important within the public sector. I think in the business community, they want to know that there are executives that really attend to the needs of these communities as well. So we're talking about C-suite diversity as well.
Right.
So that
Sure.
I think is very, very important.
But couldn't one say the flip side is you were elected the controller, I guess in spite of, you know, racial diversity. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, people don't even know. It's just you're Betty E. You were on the DOE before, and you know. That's
Well, you know, I've been fortunate.
Yeah.
I have been fortunate. I've had great opportunities. I've had great opportunities attending first-class schools, public schools in California. Gone to a first-rate university, and these are exactly the opportunities I want everyone to have. And if everyone does have them, then I think, you know, those lines can be blurred, and we talk about what contributions people can make.
You talk about first-class education.
Yes.
For better or for worse, we don't all get it.
Right.
And when we don't get it, oftentimes where we fall down is in terms of financial literacy.
Yes.
We don't get economics in
Right,
11th grade.
right.
Because we didn't get to 11th grade. That's one of your foci. I mean, since I've
Absolutely.
known you,
Yes,
is
yes.
financial literacy.
Yes.
You've been talking about that here today.
Absolutely.
Tell me more about what you continue to profess. And
Well, you know, I think particularly now in California and the rest of the nation, we have so many challenges. Well, the nation faces a retirement crisis, so our
Right.
older adult population, California is an aging population, and so our older adults are feeling a lot more financial stress. And so as you look over the continuum of a person's life, as a young person, maybe getting prepared to go to college, as a working person, trying to get into their first house, as a person trying to put kids through college, as someone who's a caregiver for their aging parents. All of these things that just present financial challenges, I think, are becoming more common experiences among us. And so the way that, and we've been talking about it a lot here today, because overcoming those challenges is how I think we're going to become more successful in terms of the economic opportunities that we're going to have as a
are we
community.
getting the literacy message out, the information out?
You know, the schools have been a little stressed in terms of doing it consistently, but it's the other reason I'm here is because I think the faith leaders are really a great, I mean, look, they're messengers of a lot of great messages, and we look to them to really help us reach these communities, and they're a trusted source, and frankly, with the Development Corporation here, they want to see communities succeed.
She is Betty E., Controller of California. I'm Brad Pomerantz. It's Charter Local Edition.